Hello everybody, this is Krypton Meadows speaking. So I do want to discuss the topic between JuniDrawz and YummiCactus. I do want to point out that they have apologized to Momo and they settled it and whatnot. I've seen the screenshots. However, I do want to pinpoint something. As somebody who is an artist myself, and I have done some commentary, and I have done some form of busting when it comes to certain individuals or whatnot, as much as I have watched JuniDrawz video from 2 weeks ago that discusses about who Cupidite is, and then obviously all these other things, I want to point out the fact that the 200 plus doc that they made on Momo Draws basically didn't get anywhere. It was full of horse shit. And as much as they apologize, I don't think they should get let off the hook, since not only are they minors, but they're just artists trying to act like detectives. If you're going to be a commentary artist, and not even a commentary artist, just a commentary YouTuber, but you can also be an artist because there are people who are artists and commentaries, whatever. If you're going to be in the commentary community itself, I think you should when it comes to commentary and when it comes to spreading awareness about somebody or anybody in particular, you have to, English, I am sorry, my brain is everywhere. You have to make sure that you get all your information correct. You can't just take one thing and then go with it. You have to make sure that you got all the information right, that you got both sides of the picture, story, whatever, because not only that, you could have plenty of different victims who can relate and have experience to things. So you have to do interviews, you have to gather a lot, especially when it comes to a huge doc on anybody, including evidence that involves, grooming, pedophilia, zoophilia, all these things together. You can't, again, as I said, you can't just grab something and then run with the narrative, and then sit there and be like, oh yeah, this person is Cupidite, this person is this person is that, oh, whatever. And not only that, another thing is English again, sorry if I'm stuttering, sorry if, whatever. Not whatever, but you get it. It's the fact that, again, if you're gonna expose somebody or you're gonna be mature about the situation, then you should have done way better than what you pulled off, because not only are people gonna look at you sideways, they're gonna see how immature, unprofessional you are, and you're also gonna have your fan base not really trust you as much, because now they're gonna kind of, again, look at you sideways and be like, so since you did this, how are we gonna, take you seriously or believe you when it comes to other things, because how you handle the situation, and the fact that, again, you and your fan base went after somebody that you don't know at all, accusing them as Cupidite. Now, I will say this, again, Momo is not Cupidite. I've stated in my own videos and terms, and also the fact how the art community is basically toxic as a whole, and pinpointed a few things. Another thing I do want to establish is that I feel like the only reason why they just started to apologize and, reflected on what they have caused is because they probably just wanted to be off the hook and then act as if this never happened, and then everybody's like, something of that sort. But again, just because you have a big following, you're still gonna have people that are gonna look at you and then, feel indifferent about you because of how you handled the situation and how you went about it. So yeah, you have apologized to Momo. Yeah, you've, took an accountability for it and whatnot. However, not only that, you still have people who still, are looking into the evidence and still trying to say, oh, Momo is Cupidite, or, oh, Momo may not be Cupidite, but, and it's always that but. You can't just sit there being like, oh, Momo is Cupidite, but, oh, Cupidite is this, but. No, you gotta, if you actually have proper evidence that somebody, such as Cupidite, is somebody else, or somebody else is Cupidite themselves, you need to actually look into the evidence and actually think for yourself, and also investigate that situation by gathering everything before you just jump the gun and let loose on that ammo, because honestly, you basically shot the bullet at the wrong target in a hunting session. take this with a grain of salt. You basically just loaded the gun. You sat there peacefully waiting for something to come around. And, you know, instead of getting something that you're supposed to have, you shoot something that is not even really that important, or something that's not even in your bucket list. Like, instead of shooting the deer, you shot, like, you know, a bear or something that wasn't really important of what you were really going for. So you basically just took what you wanted and just dragged along with it. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Maybe it doesn't. I'm trying to, like, make it sound like it... Like, I'm trying to make it sound sensible, if that's the term, word, whatever. But overall, I just think that just because they apologize, I think they should make a public post or something apologizing to Momo, even though, yes, you can do this privately, especially when it comes to, you know, these kind of things. But since you had your entire fan base who are also mostly, if not halfly minors, and also young adults or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure they're also just mostly minors based off how they talk and how they type and how they just behave in general, is the fact that it wasn't just you and Yummi, like, it wasn't Juni and Yummi going after Momo, it was Juni's fan base and Yummi's fan base going after Momo. Like, was that really necessary? Especially since, again, kids are very gullible, and children can literally just hear one thing and then it comes out the other, and they just grab what they take and then run with that narrative. And not only that, they can change the story around where, like, one person says one thing, the other person repeats what the first person says, and then, you know, changes it in their own perspective, and then that cycle repeats. It's the same shit like the Bible. Let's put that to that aspect. It's kind of like the Bible, where, you know, the Bible was created by a man, and he stated, you know, his beliefs, his opinions about so-and-so, and then somebody took that from the man who made the Bible, rewrote everything, but put it in their own words, and then it just repeated itself. It's basically like that.
You are so right.
Sorry, my mom came in. But that's basically just how I see it when it comes to situations like that. So I guess maybe that's just my own personal opinion, that I think JuniDrawz and YummiCactus should do, like, a public apology instead of, like, apologizing from closed doors. But they can go out of their way and tell people, being like, yeah, we talked, we apologized, they apologized, but I still think that's Cupidite, or any of that sort of thing. So if they really meant what they said, maybe they should just make it public. And, you know, maybe Juni and Yummi should also, like, you know, make it aware, like, hey, you know, we handled this, you know, poorly, you know, we were immature about it, this, that, and the third, and kind of, like, go into depths with it, like Juni did with the whole Cupidite thing, and I'm pretty sure Yummi did as well. I only saw the one about JuniDrawz, making the video about Cupidite specifically from 2 weeks ago, but I'm pretty sure my point still stands of where I'm coming from and where I'm getting from this. Because, again, people can sit there and apologize, and then will still sit there and say one thing to your face and then say the other to other people, where you're also going to have people come to you being like, well, they apologize, but... Or it's, oh, they still think that you're Cupidite, but... Like... Does that ring a bell? Does that make sense? But, again, it's just as bad. Also, I want to point this out. It's also, like, just as bad if an adult went after a child for this kind of situation, just as the same level of expectation for a child to go after an adult for these kind of false claims. Because, again, false information can ruin anybody's lives. Like, the shit that they have said about Momo, and how Momo was Cupidite and everything, and then, you know, they did a fucking slander campaign, made a 200 plus fucking doc on Momo, all these things, and then sat there, you know, mocking her grooming situation, and all these freaking fucked up things that can ruin somebody. And people want to sit there and take it as a joke till, you know, they actually do get consequenced. And they also want to sit there being like, oh, well, I'm a minor, you can't do anything to me. You can get charged as an adult. I've stated this in my other video, that you can get charged as an adult when you're a minor. There's plenty of cases where children, especially those of the age of 13, 14, 15, any form of age, even 17, get charged as an adult. Let's take Neil Kumar for an example. Neil Kumar is a 17-year-old individual who not only doxed people in his school, in his district, but he has also did a lot of threats. I can't specify which because of YouTube's guidelines, but has said a lot of threats to an individual that I talked to who I'm friends with by the name of DNA. And when we were in Momo's live stream, he did brought that up about that said individual. So just because he's a kid, and I know people are going to sit there being like, well, he's still a child. Yeah, and he can still get charged as an adult. I don't want to hear that bullshit. That is so stupid to me. Well, he's still a child, and it is wrong that they said that, but it's always the fucking but in the end of the sentence. But nothing. That child should get charged and still will get charged as an adult. And it doesn't matter if they're a child. They should still get charged because it's a crime. It's illegal. So this same stuff applies when, y'all got your information mixed up and went after Momo. This includes Juni and Yummi. So again, yes, they apologized to Momo privately, but I think, in my personal opinion, I think they should actually do a public apology, so at least, it's not just Juni and Yummi and Momo discussing this privately. Maybe since Juni and Yummi were the ones that spreaded this hellfire, maybe they should, burn it down and make it public that, they were at fault and they're shitty individuals. But I don't think they're going to do that because they know that if they do, it's going to ruin their reputation, and there's a lot of people that's going to look at them sideways, especially when it comes to the commentary industry community, whatever. So there's only two types of guesses here of why they may not do that. And if they do, then once again, as I stated, you're still going to get looked at sideways, because not only that, people who have trusted you may not trust you anymore, especially when it comes to information like this. Now, another thing I also want to discuss is that I think you should just stick as artists at this point. You shouldn't even investigate in situations like this. And again, as I stated before, you are a victim of Cupido or any form of person that has done you wrong. But just because you're a victim, that does not mean that you treat strangers like shit and then accuse them of something that somebody has done to you and then tell a stranger that they're that same person that has caused you harm. Because not only is that fucking wrong to do, but that's very shitty, because I understand trauma is a real thing, and such is fear, and all those kind of things. I'm not gonna shit on you or put your downfall out there, but as somebody who has went through shit, who has been abused by my grandmother at a young age, who has been groomed from the age of 12 to 17 by my groomer, and also on top of somebody who I considered a best friend for 8.5 years, who also did a lot of abuse by manipulating, gaslighting, and self-sabotage me in a lot of fucking things. So I understand that, especially when it comes to having friends, and then when they do something similar to what my abusers have done, I get fucking terrified. But I'm not gonna fucking do the shit that y'all have done. That's stupid. It's not, but it is. Does that make sense? Like, it is, but it's not in the same standard sense. But just because you're a victim of Cupidite, even if you're not a victim of Cupidite, you should know right from wrong, and you should also talk to the person that you are accusing of said thing and get your information straight, instead of just grabbing what you got and then just run with that narrative, because that can ruin somebody's life. That could have ruined Momo's life. So I'm pretty sure I've said what I said, and I said what I could. I don't want to feel like a broken record by repeating myself like I already stated in the first video that I made, but I think my point is getting across there in some standard, and hopefully this is a life lesson learned. But I'm nobody's parent, I'm not nobody's guardian, I'm not even nobody's family, but I think you need to be careful and choose your words wisely of what you're going to go about with it, And if you're gonna be in any part of commentary or whatnot, I think it's best that you just wait till you're 18, because doing this at a young age, you're still young, you're still confused, you're gonna grab information in the wrong element, and then only take what you get or take what you got, and then just run with it and not get the full the full story at all. You're just taking what somebody says with a grain of salt and then just run with that narrative to find out that it's not true. So I think it's best off that probably JuniDrawz and YummiCactus should just stay as normal artists. And I mean, they can talk about, like, you know, say the game, like, commentary about games or an anime or a show or a series. But when it comes to situations like these, I think they should just stay out of it and just wait when they're like 18. Because again, how they went on about it, especially when it came to Momo, was not the greatest. And honestly, I think they should just not be commentary YouTubers or whatever they are, besides being an artist. But maybe that's just me, because, you know, I just think that's just how I'm picturing it. That's how I'm seeing it, whatever. But I'm not gonna stop somebody for not doing what they want. I mean, that's, you know, their passion, whatever. But how this situation was handled, I just don't think that they're fit for that kind of category at all, besides being an artist. So, again, maybe that's just me, just talking, yapping. But yeah, I think that's the end of this video, and that's the end of this. So that's all I gotta say. So, I'll see you guys in my next video. Ciao.